Yeah, as maybe I should make the statement first that I'm really employed by the Swiss National Science Foundation, and I'm a volunteer for promoting ORCID. But I don't get any money. I just do it because I think it's really a good idea to have this ORCID. I'm following this initiative since about, I don't know, three years before it even officially launched, and have been continuing promoting it, and also trying to bring it back to my actual work, which is more like configuring and managing information system at a founder, um, where I'm just very new, so I cannot tell you so much about that, what we are doing there, but I'm also have some slides for that later. So let's get forward. What is ORCID first? I guess many of you already have heard about ORCID. It's as Bani already said, it's on the air. It's everywhere right now. Um, the idea is actually it's an open researcher contributor ID, and to express it very simple, it's something like a DOI for researchers. The idea is really simple, but as you will see, it's not that simple. It sometimes seems. Um, I guess this slide demonstrates what the problem was, and the motivation of ORCID is to trying to solve this kind of problems. We have a lot of author names, especially in different countries, and you have different kind of writing the names, abbreviations, etc. And for a lot of systems, this is hard to cope with, and you don't really get complete results, and it's not unique, etc. I mean, it's quite a common problem. I guess we all know that, and especially from a Western perspective, I guess it's handleable because I think, for example, my name is not so. Is not so many times used, like the guy here also Sumit Gupta says. But we also have to think about, for example, China, where they really have these chunks and leaves, etc., where sometimes the segregation is really, really difficult. And that's also motivation for that. Like also we have, as seen here, we have also different kind of writing systems, and then there we have the problem of Spanish names, where you often don't know what is the first name, what the surnames, at least those who are not so involved into that. And then you have some kind of cultures where, yeah, the names are very, very common, and it's sometimes really hard to disambiguate the people just by name. And I guess this is the basic problem that ORCID is trying to solve. And also, yeah, as you also know, it's the name sometimes is not stable. When you marry or when you publish, you have to have different names. It also goes into that. So that is, I think, the basic idea behind ORCID. And now the question is, who is ORCID? Because the question is, when you have an identifier for that, who's going to do that? There have been attempts to do that before. There still exists, like Researcher ID and Scopus ID, and many, many systems have IDs. But I think the idea behind ORCID is that really it's, I think, the first, and probably I guess the only attempt to really get this international. And I think if ORCID is going to fail, we never are going to have an international author identifier, which is going to work for everyone. And here you see that at the moment there are about 150 members from everywhere in the world. And I think it's really important to stress that it's not only publishing organization, because sometimes you get the feeling at the moment there are a lot of publishing companies in there, because I guess they had the need first for doing something. and sometimes some people really, especially from the open access movement, which I also a part of, think that, well, this is another commercial attempt to do something, but it's really um, important to say that it's open for everyone, and we already see university and research organizations are already the majority of the members. There are societies, research societies. There are some funders. Unfortunately, I must say the Swiss National Science Foundation is not yet a member, but we are really support this mentally, and I hope I can manage that we are going to be a member soon. There are repositories and profile systems, and I think there are a lot of now organization, upcoming startups, Science Open, etc., which use this kind of ORCID integration right from the start, which because they say, well, it's important that we get some kind of recognition, and you can use this kind of open system, which is, as said, basically it has started as all for disaggregation, but I think it's becoming more than that. The more and more is going to happen. Well, who's ORCID more specifically? Here's the list of the board of directors. And you see it's quite a different mix. You have, of course, the big publishers like Wiley, Elsevier, Nature. They are in there as well, but you also see there are big organizations like CERN or Wellcome Trust or Cornell Universities, which represent the research organization. So it's really an attempt to get all of them in one boat. And I guess what I have seen in the last few years wasn't always easy to really bring together all these kinds of players, which in one way they cooperate, in one way, as you know, there are big differences between this kind of players. But for the sake of this kind of initiative, they come together. These are the board of directors, and there are also staff. I have met a few personally, and I think it's really funny to see how they don't have an office somewhere, that they really are at different places in the world, and as I heard, they really meet all virtually and do a lot of stuff. And of course, also this has to be said, this costs money, and I think this is also a part of ORCID that these people have to get money somewhere, and this sometimes contradicts to the expectations that many of us have, that we sometimes just think, well, every fund this should be for free, especially when it's open. So just keep that in mind when we come later about the business model. And well, there is this stuff for community management, for technical development, and then there's also this kind of ambassadors, to which group I also belong, which I guess we are just some kind of enthusiasts of this kind of idea and try to promote it within our organizations and our communities or local communities. And as you see, it's really international. It's really international stuff. And I just have you can go to the link there. It's more longer than just presenting the screenshot, but a lot of people which are committed to this kind of idea. But of course, there are also a lot of people which are not ambassadors and are really promoting ORCID inside their institution, doing something about that. So it's really a community approach, international approach, right from the start. Well, there are different way of registration of an ORCID, but I guess the simple way, and probably when you have visited the website, you see that this is the promise that there is. Take 30 seconds, and then you have your ORCID. Of course, that's just the very minimal way. As soon as you start adding publications or filling out the profile, you probably have more than 30 seconds, but I think it's really, really easy to register with ORCID. I think this was probably the, the way to go to really get growing fast. Because in Switzerland, we also, for example, have this kind of an idea to get a national ID from each research institution, but there is more security behind it. So you really have to prove that you are the person you are. And this sometimes needs showing a passport, etc. So that you really can say, well, this Christian Good Connect, this is the real one. And which then allows you to do more sophisticated stuff, more secure stuff. And I think here the idea is really get people as fast an ORCID, which sometimes then can create problems. So what happens if you register twice? There's some kind of email application, how do you say, mechanism to avoid that. But it's technically possible that you register you yourself twice an ORCID, which is indeed not a purpose. But I think this is the compromise we have to go for when we would like to have a fast adoption. I think this is the main challenge. I think ORCID has succeeded very well. Yeah, or maybe to just keep to that, because we have now, it's not really, oh sorry, it's not really the most current numbers, but you find it on the ORCID side, but now you really see it. It really has a really fast adoption. Now over 750,000 IDs, and it's growing each year, each month actually. Yeah, it's a lot of going on. And yeah, when you have registered yourself, you simply have some kind of profile you can file out. File out like you know it from LinkedIn. It's these days we fill in a lot of profiles forms where you Mendeley and LinkedIn and etc. etc. There's a lot of stuff you can do. It's quite similar here. I think the difference here is that when you have done it here, you should be able to use it on other sites as well. This, I guess, is the idea and probably the motivation to do it here as well. Yeah, you have this kind of classical functions of adding education stuff, employment stuff, and then of course, which is, I would say, more or less one of the core functionalities, or at least the one which is really in the focus right now, is to adding publications. And there are already some kind of wizards, so you can search Crossref DataCite, you can search Scopus, you can connect a researcher ID from Thomson Reuters, which you already have. So you can already use these pre-built services to just usually, I guess, it already suggests you when you just click on the wizard that makes a search in the system and suggests you that these are now your stuff, and you can connect it to the profile. And also, that being said, when you see here this list, this is up to you. When you have a repository system, you can build such a wizard by yourself and try to add it here. So this is also the idea about being open. Yeah, and sometimes when you browse a little bit through these many profiles, you see a lot of people that just have imported all the stuff from other systems, which is very easy to do, especially in the natural sciences when you have this kind of databases. In social sciences, sometimes it's more difficult because they don't have DOIs and you don't have structured data which you can import. But well, there's also a manual way to add work. which you just simply can fill out this kind of an easy form to add your stuff. Regarding the format, that is not yet very well solved, I think. It's really some kind of compromise of various systems. You can have BibTeX imported, which is oriented to BibTeX, but BibTeX is not really I think it's not really a good standard. It's very open, it's very flexible by any system, but this is often a problem because, well, when you would like to get data out of ORCID again, how do you get it structured? I think there is still work needed to really make this really doing well. But I think this is the world we already have, that it's often complicated between different formats. In the repository world, we have Dublin Core, but as you know, Dublin Core often is too simple to express more sophisticated metadata. And I'm also very excited to see what could be the role of ORCID in kind of bringing this together. There is a working group for that, consisting of various participants from publishers, probably also repository side. I'm not in there, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But actually, if you have ideas, feel free to bring it in and say, well, we would like to have this format and yeah, this kind of stuff. But this is ongoing. I guess the idea is at the moment that you really can bring in your data very fast and that you get some kind of adoption so that it's also attractive for other applications to connect to ORCID and also be able to export to ORCID. Yeah. So, well, when you have done that, yeah, but what's the purpose? I guess this is yet not well done. I mean, you have an ORCID, but I think this is already a good start, because often people just look, well, how many people use ORCID, and this is the way to go. Well, there are obviously a lot of people, but it's just, I guess, a lot of people just have an ORCID, but they don't really use it yet to the way that it probably was intended. But I think this is you really need time, because the initiative launched in October 2012, and usually it just takes time to get something done which is then really showable, and people say, well, this is really handy, you can use that. But I think it's doing not that bad. You see a lot of promises from institutions saying, well, we would want to do something. Also, for example, my institution, myself, Swiss National Science Foundation, we really have a look at that. But sometimes, it's hard to really leave or integrate ORCID in the daily business. You really have to have a use case for that, and really get commitment from all institutions to do something at fast, and at the end it always costs some money or development time. It's not that easy, but I think it's more and more coming. So yeah, there is indeed, yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with your ORCID, or in this research world there are a lot of entities which you can connect, and the idea is really to connect the stuff. And I think we are building on that. ORCID itself has an API which is free to use, so you can retrieve all the information you have on the ORCID profile, and you can integrate that in your systems. Typically, these are grant system, repositories, research information system, the publisher using it, society memberships. It can be used, and it's this idea. Because a lot of institutions, they collect the same data of people, and but it's not always up to date. For example, at Swiss National Science Foundation, we have a user database about 60,000 persons worldwide, which are grants applicants, but also reviewers for projects, and we have our own system. We really manage this all the person data by ourselves, and I guess this could be a chance because all other systems often use similar data or even the same data, but it's not really exchanged. And ORCID, I guess, is really the center of this exchange. Yeah, maybe just to show quickly some examples how ORCID is used these days. Of course, you see Web of Science. Thomson Reuters had this researcher ID. Maybe it's also important to say that researcher ID, they still, I guess it's still active, but really Thomson Reuters gave up, or let's say they sold their system they had for researcher ID and brought it to ORCID. And ORCID really open sourced the whole system, which is actually based on researcher ID. So the idea is really, I guess, also from Web of Science to finally migrate to ORCID, because they have seen. I mean, when you look at researcher ID, it's nice, but the adoption is not really good, because yeah, it's proprietary, and just Thomson Reuters has the data then. But also Scopus, another big player, is using ORCID. It's also, as already said, involved in ORCID. Also Elsevier, having already said, they really use it. And they have made promises that they use it for the journals very soon. I haven't yet seen that in real life so much, but Scopus here is a good example. Then there are these kind of startups, Science 2.0 organization, which then say, well, we use ORCID because it's free, it's easy to use. Then you have the player funders, as mentioned. There are a lot of commitment from various research organizations, as you see here. Often it's rather, well, we would like to support this idea, so make more progress in really implementing ORCID in their system. The idea is when you apply for a grant that you can use your ORCID there and get the information from the profile into the grant application, so you don't have to enter the stuff twice from your often you just upload the CV, which is printed in PDF, and some I guess here the idea is that maybe you can just say, well, this is my ORCID, and there you find all my publication in structured form, so you don't need to upload a separate CV and publication list. Here a screenshot from the ORCID integration in our system at Swiss National Science Foundation. It's really basic. So the idea was that in the profile we can add this kind of number here, which not really has an impact, but you just can add it. And also after grant was given and is running, often the applicants must report about that, and then one thing they should report are the publications. We use some kind of web services to not really that people don't really have to enter their publications manually, but there we have this kind of ORCID import wizard, so you can say, well, if you already have your publication ORCID, just enter your ORCID and then just select the publication which are relevant for this grant. And I think there is a lot of potential to do more about that in the future. Also, publishers are using it right from the start when people upload a manuscript to the manuscript submission system. Here it's often very beneficiary that a lot of journals use the same manuscript submission system, and they have they have this opportunity that you also can enter the ORCID from the start. But often it's really the decision of the journal or the publisher to say, well, we request this mandatory and activate it in this kind of screens at the submission. Um, it's not. I haven't yet heard that it's really mandatory for some publisher journals that you have to add it. But I think that could be a good way to get more ORCIDs very soon. And then you here see already how maybe ORCID is displayed in a journal article, two examples. And yeah, the publishers are also experimenting. Maybe you have a profile, person profile on the publisher platform, then you can connect to the ORCID, which is actually it's working a little bit like Facebook. So you can say, well, should nature.com be able to read some information from your ORCID profile, and then you authorize that. It's also very important to know that in the center of ORCID is always the author. It's not the institution. It's really you, which and you decide, do you give permission to your institution to use your data, etc. It's really you, and this is this kind of how it works. One publisher which is really have been doing a lot for ORCID is Hindawi, the OpenX publisher from Egypt, and they not only well, they don't ask people to go to ORCID and register themselves, but they have integrated the registration process in their system. So when you publish something, I don't know how it exactly works, but somehow they register the offer directly to ORCID via API, and therefore we have seen a lot of offers from Hindawi. They have now an ORCID, and you see it here how in Hindawi an offer has a profile, and then you see the ORCID there listed. Well, there are, as said, there is actually the author contribution is often linked to the ORCID, but now there are also ideas to not only the author contribution is linked to ORCID, but also the peer use activity. There's an ongoing proposal. When you go to ORCID.org, you see one of the latest news is that there was still some time left to comment this proposal, how peer review can be acknowledged and linked. Actually, it's this kind of idea. When publishers use ORCID, they also can expose it to other databases like PubMed, and PubMed already has this implemented as only author identifier. They see that you can go to PubMed and search, for example, for ORCIDs. Of course, it's just starting, and not many institutions or not many journals use this function, but there are a few, and I really hope this is going to be more. Also, Crossref is using that, so you can retrieve ORCIDs via Crossref. But this is really in the decision of a journal that they expose this kind of metadata through Crossref or PubMed. But the idea is there, commitments there. It's just often they just have to activate it in their systems. And as well, there are fixtures, this kind of data repository, which has this kind of sync mechanism, linking data from ORCID, etc. There is also a project Odin called, which is working with DataSite. Yeah, and I guess one of the bigger problems is that how do people get a researcher an ORCID? And here are different kind of approaches. And I must say I have a little bit lost the current state, what's going to happen. A lot of institutions have committed to ORCID and they say they want to do it, but often it's not really clear how they're going to do it. Should they really assign ORCIDs to all researchers and students? There are some kind of institutions that have done that, but the feedback there is also that it's really a lot of work to do that, and sometimes the response rate from the researcher, because again, an institution cannot do that without the permission of the researcher, is not that well, and it really takes time. And there are different approaches to do that. And there's a very good web page how to create ORCIDs for member institutions. Sometimes a little bit technical. If you're really interested, please go there and see what's going on. Yeah, there are a lot of numbers there, and yeah, as I said, I have a little bit lost the overview how far they are with the implementation. But I think as you see here, it's really commitment is there, but probably one is just member, but haven't yet started to reassign ORCIDs to every member of the institution or just promote it in the institution. There are different kinds of state. What we see now is also that often it's not only done by one university, but also by on a national level. For example, Denmark has just signed a consortial agreement with ORCID, and to try to do this on a national level. There are different kinds of ways to implement ORCIDs. I personally myself was involved in ePrints repositories, and here we also commissioned for ePrints a plugin. You find it here, which actually just imports publications from ORCID to ePrints. Here was the repository I was working for, and we tried to really get quick wins. And the idea was that we entered the ORCID into the system. So you see here, this, for example, was an entry where my institution was already mentioned. And then you see here the local identifier, which is just used inside university, has no meaning outside university, which we then try to say, well, if you have a local ID, then we use also the ORCID, which then is exposed in other context when exchanging information with other harvesters, etc. And as said, Crossref already delivers ORCID and PubMed also, depending on the publisher and the journal. But when you have this, when you do import stuff from PubMed and Crossref, which many repositories do because it's very simple, you also can just get this information and have then the ORCID identifier from foreign authors in your repository. That was the state where I left the University of Bern. Unfortunately, I cannot say how it went further, but I think it really was possible to get a quick win out of that and really give people the opportunity to just enter their ORCID when they have one. Although I must say, in some way, it was still very manual. It's not as automatically I wanted that to happen. But yeah, as I said, it sometimes takes time. And when you have an ORCID, you see this sometimes. Often authors are very, let's say, they want to show what they have done, and then ORCID is a very good way. They use ORCID as a link. Often, as you see here, with different kind of platforms. It's not the only one, but they refer it as well. Yeah, just to coming to the last part. Of course, ORCID it's open, but it is to achieve something. It needs money to have seen stuff. But it's really, I think it's a compromise to keep it open. So you don't need to be a member to use to read information from an ORCID record. But when you want to send ORCID automatically, not just by manually adding the stuff, you need to be a member. Which then is the idea that you can different kind of, you can get more information, you can get more features when you're a member. But the idea is really that it's as open as possible. ORCID has been trying out different kind of memberships. I think it's really they're trying to avoid this kind of free rider problem, but they and find the right solution, the right business model, which is actually that those who profit the most, they should be a member. And you see, they are at the moment really trying out what's going to work. They already have adapted the membership model since 2012 from the start, because some small institutions said, well, it's too hard to get a member, too costly. They are, but they're still, I think they're still trying out what's going to work best. And for example, there are consortial efforts, national efforts, so they don't have to deal with every small university or research institution, etc. They're kind of different membership models. But really, I would like to stress, and sometimes people don't really acknowledge that it's really an effort to be open as possible. And with possible, I really mean that ORCID is really releasing all the public data. And with public, I mean the data which the author has acknowledged that it can be public, because there is kind of private information on the ORCID record, which only sees the author himself, the researcher, or the institution which he has given permission. But the real public information is also stored as a public file. Actually, it's quite large. You can go there to the link and download it. It's an annual public data file, and then can use it freely at the zero Creative Commons zero license. It's really as open as possible. And I also would like to give a hint to the principles, which actually are really stated as being open as possible. So also the governmental structure is open. So if you become a member, you really can get influence what are the next goals of ORCID. Yeah. Well, the best way to explore ORCID is really just go to the website. A lot of information is there. There's a knowledge base, as well as where you can request feature or raise the importance of features. And yeah, you find the news there. And maybe as just